long before Chris Evans has donned the shield itself, there was another actor who was playing the iconic role of the hero I'm about to talk about now. A version that many people have not seen, and people quite have forgotten about this one. And what stands out is one of the most forgotten Marvel properties, even before the MCU planted seeds. And this is a movie that many people failed to see eye to eye and really struggled to be out there. What's up, everybody? My name is Nate, and on this 25th episode of The Road to Avengers Doomsday, we're taking a look at one of Marvel's earliest and most forgotten film adaptations based on their IP characters, and that is Captain America. A movie that struggled to even get released, and just showed how far Marvel had to go in lengths for this movie. So without further ado, sit back, relax, and enjoy the show as I take you a trip down this forgotten Captain America movie. Brace yourselves. You're gonna be shocked what I talked about here. So, long before Blade, the X-Men, or Spider-Man even had their chance before they got their chance to be on the screen, Marvel was trying to figure out how to bring characters into the screen. Since the early 80s and the late 90s were filled with some low-budget adaptations of TV movies, experimental projects. And one of those movies is Captain America. And this was supposed to be a real attempt for bringing a major Marvel IP like him into the big screen for many audiences to see. But, as I'm about to tell you right now, things did not go well for this movie. And I'm about to tell you why. So first off, this Captain America movie was released in the 90s, and it had a lot of problems in between. So first off, starting off, the movie had a really difficult production. It had a limited budget, there were some creative issues, and changing expectations for what superheroes should be and how they were back then. Originally, it intended to be a huge theatrical release, but the movie ended up mostly going to straight to video, which already tells you something. And if a movie goes to straight to video and not many people know about it, you can already tell this is going to be a pretty bad egg. This wasn't the grand actor introduction that Captain America needed. It was already at a bad egg. And according to more resources I found, the budget of this movie was reported to be of $3 million. And the costume design was pretty criticized. While it did try to have the classic blue costume with the shield, it just felt bad. And the mask itself had plastic, those eagle things glued on, and which was done to comfort issues with the initial design. It really did not fit well in the face. Imagine wearing that outfit, I would not be comfortable wearing that at all. It would just be questionable. So, who stars in this movie, you may ask? Well, this movie stars Matt Salinger as Steve Rogers, aka Captain America. And let's be fair, he does try to capture the spirit of the character. Steve is portrayed as brave, loyal, determined, but the script and direction didn't give him much room for him to truly shine. Instead of feeling like a legendary hero, this version of Captain America feels smaller and less impactful. This movie managed to tell the story for Captain America, his origin, but not in a huge way. It has the same Steve Rogers, a young man with strong morals. He's chosen for the super soldier experiment. He becomes Captain America. He faced in a symbol hope for World War II. But after facing Red Skull, he ends up frozen and awakened years later in the modern day. Sound familiar to you guys? It's actually a blueprint we would see in Captain America the First Avenger, in a much better scale and in development. But here, the execution feels so rushed and completely underdeveloped. But the villain in this movie is Red Skull, and this is one of the most unusual interpretations of the character. So the Red Skull, he's played by Scott Pilgrim, and he does try to do a pretty great Red Skull, but it just didn't work. And this is what the movie decides to not give him some pretty good story. Instead of a terrifying officer from World War II, this movie changes his story completely. While this character still serves as the enemy to Captain America, he lacks the intimidation and the presence you felt, which weakens the overall conflict this movie has. So, why did this movie fail? Well, people like me who saw this movie, the action didn't land. The pacing was really uneven. There was not enough action, and the production feels less compared to what audience expect, even for that time. And that's not just ideas are bad. It's the overall execution that never reaches its potential. However, despite its flaws, this film is pretty important. It represents an early attempt to bring one of Marvel's biggest heroes to life, and highlights something critical. Marvel characters needed bigger budgets, stronger storytelling, and a clear creative vision. Things didn't fully come together until many years later in 2011 when we get Chris Evans playing the role for Captain America. But now it's time to wrap up this movie and say my own thoughts. Looking back, it's almost incredible how far Captain America has become. From a low-budget direct-to-video film to becoming one of the most central heroes of the MCU. That journey didn't happen overnight. It took years and years of trial and error. Movies like this included. And in conclusion, Captain America may not be a fan favorite, but it's still a reminder how things started out. A rough beginning that would eventually lead to something legendary. And on the road to Avengers Doomsday, even forgotten chapters matter well. If you enjoyed this video, make sure you subscribe and let me know down in the comments below. Have you seen Captain America in 1990? And what are your overall thoughts? But anyways, I'll see you in the next part as we continue to build the road to Avengers Doomsday. Ciao!